The divorce papers hit my kitchen table like a bomb at 7:30 on a Tuesday morning. My wife, Victoria, didn't even have the decency to hand them to me herself. She had her lawyer, some shark named Bradley Keir, deliver them while she watched from the doorway of what used to be our bedroom. Arms crossed, face blank as a wall. "Sign them." "Owen," she said, her voice flat and final. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I looked down at the documents. 15 years of marriage, reduced to legal jargon and dotted lines. My name is Owen Caldwell. I'm 43 years old. And up until that moment, I thought I had a decent life. I worked as a project manager for a construction firm, pulling in a solid salary. Nothing spectacular, but enough to keep us comfortable in our 3-bedroom house in Riverside Park. Or so I thought. "Victoria, can we at least talk about this?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt inside. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Talk, Owen. We've been done talking for months. You were just too oblivious to notice." Bradley Keir cleared his throat, adjusting his expensive glasses. "Mr. Caldwell, my client has been more than generous with the settlement terms. You'll notice she's allowing you to keep your personal belongings and your vehicle. Allowing me, like I needed permission to keep my own truck." "What about the house?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. The house was purchased primarily with funds from Mrs. Caldwell's family trust, Bradley said smoothly. "As such, it remains her property. You have 72 hours to vacate the premises." I stared at Victoria. 15 years. We'd met at a company mixer when she was working in her father's real estate development firm. She was beautiful, confident, always knew exactly what she wanted. I fell hard and fast. And when she said yes to my proposal, I thought I'd won the lottery. Her father, Richard Ashford, never liked me, made it clear from day one that his daughter was marrying beneath her station. But Victoria had insisted she loved me, that money didn't matter, that we'd build our life together. Turned out every word was a lie. "There's someone else." "Isn't there?" I asked quietly. Victoria's expression didn't change. "That's none of your concern anymore." "Owen, sign the papers." I picked up the pen Bradley had thoughtfully placed next to the documents. My hand didn't shake. I didn't cry or beg. I just signed my name on every yellow tab, watching 15 years disappear with each stroke of ink. "Excellent," Bradley said, gathering the papers like he'd just closed a business deal. "You have until Friday at 5:00 p.m. to remove your belongings." Victoria turned and walked back into the bedroom, closing the door with a soft click that sounded louder than a gunshot. I sat there for a long time after they left, staring at my coffee mug. It had "World's Best Husband" printed on the side. Victoria had given it to me as a joke on our 5th anniversary. I wondered if she'd been planning this even back then. If you're finding this story compelling, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Drop a comment below about a time when you discovered something unexpected. And smash that like button to help this video reach others who might need to hear this story. Now, let's continue. The next 3 days passed in a blur of packing boxes and avoiding memories. I loaded my truck with clothes, a few pieces of furniture Victoria didn't want, my tools, and a box of photographs I couldn't bring myself to throw away yet. My brother Tyler helped me move everything into a storage unit across town. "You can stay with me and Jessica for a while," Tyler offered as we loaded the last box. He was 2 years younger than me, ran his own HVAC business, and had always been the practical one in our family. "Appreciate it, but I think I need my own space," I said. "There's a furnished apartment complex near the industrial district. Month-to-month lease. Nothing fancy, but it'll work." Tyler studied me with concern. "Owen, you doing okay? You seem too calm about all this." I closed the storage unit door and locked it. What's the point of falling apart? Ty, she made her choice. I just need to figure out what comes next. The apartment was exactly what I expected. Small studio with a kitchenette, a bathroom where you could sit on the toilet and wash your hands in the sink simultaneously, and a Murphy bed that creaked every time you moved. The previous tenant had left a broken coffee maker and a lingering smell of cigarettes, but it was mine. Nobody could take it away. I spent the first week in a strange kind of numbness, going through the motions at work, coming home to my empty studio, eating takeout from the Chinese place downstairs. My coworkers had heard about the divorce through the office grapevine, and they treated me with that awkward sympathy people show when they don't know what to say. My boss, Greg Hoffman, called me into his office on Friday afternoon. "Owen, I'm worried about you," he said, gesturing for me to sit. "Your work's been solid as always, but you seem checked out. You taking care of yourself? I'm fine." "Greg, just adjusting to some changes." He nodded slowly. "Listen, I've been divorced twice. I know what you're going through. If you need some time off, just say the word. I'd rather stay busy." I said, "Honestly, work keeps my mind occupied." That was true. At the construction site, I could focus on schedules, materials, crews, problems with actual solutions. Not like my personal life, which felt like trying to rebuild a house after a tornado had torn it to the foundation. 2 weeks after the divorce was finalized, Tyler called me late on a Sunday night. "Owen, you need to come to Dad's house tomorrow," he said, his voice tight. "Mom's estate lawyer finally contacted me. Apparently, there are some things we need to go through. Our mother, Patricia Caldwell, had passed away 3 years ago from cancer. It had been brutal watching her fade over 6 months, but she'd faced it with the same quiet strength she'd shown her whole life. Dad had died when Tyler and I were teenagers, and Mom had raised us alone, working 2 jobs to keep us fed and in decent schools. What kind of things, I asked. He wouldn't say over the phone, just said it was important and we both needed to be there. The lawyer, a man named Howard Preston, met us at Mom's old house the next afternoon. Tyler had inherited the house, a small 2-bedroom ranch in an older neighborhood, and he'd been slowly fixing it up with plans to sell it eventually. Howard Preston was in his 60s, wearing a suit that had seen better days and carrying a worn leather briefcase that looked older than me. "Gentlemen, thank you for meeting me," he said, shaking our hands. "I apologize for the delay in contacting you. Your mother's estate was straightforward, but there was one item that required special handling." He opened his briefcase and pulled out a manila envelope, thick and sealed with red wax. "Your mother left specific instructions that this envelope was only to be opened 3 years after her passing, and only in the presence of both sons. She was very clear about the timing." Tyler and I exchanged glances. Mom had always been precise about things, methodical in a way that sometimes drove us crazy. But 3 years? What could possibly require that kind of delay? Howard handed me the envelope. "The contents belong to both of you, though your mother indicated Owen should be the one to open it." My hands trembled slightly as I broke the wax seal. Inside was a handwritten letter in Mom's careful script, and beneath it, a black bank card with my name embossed in silver letters. Not a credit card. A debit card from First National Trust. One of those old-school banks that wealthy families used. I unfolded the letter and began reading aloud. "My dearest Owen and Tyler, if you're reading this, I've been gone 3 years. And I hope you've both been taking care of each other. I've kept a secret from you your entire lives. Not out of shame, but because I wanted you to grow up normal, without the complications that money brings. Your father wasn't just a mechanic who died in an accident when you were boys. He was James Thornton Caldwell III, heir to the Caldwell manufacturing fortune. When we fell in love, he walked away from his family's money to build a life with me on our own terms. His family never forgave him. And after he died, they tried to claim you boys. I fought them in court and won custody. But the price was that I had to refuse any financial support from them. However, your father had set up a trust before his death, one his family couldn't touch. He stipulated it couldn't be accessed until both of you were adults and established in your own lives, with a 3-year waiting period after my death to ensure you'd learn to stand on your own feet first. Owen, the bank card enclosed, is connected to that trust. I've made you the primary trustee because you're the oldest. But Tyler has equal access. The funds are substantial. Use them wisely. Build something meaningful. And remember that your father loved you both more than any amount of money could express. All my love. Mom. The letter slipped from my hands. Tyler caught it, reading it again for himself while I stared at the bank card like it might bite me. This is insane, Tyler said quietly. Dad was rich. Mom never said anything. Not once. She wanted us to make our own way. I said, my voice hollow, just like Dad did. Howard Preston cleared his throat. Gentlemen, I should mention that I don't actually know the amount in the trust. Your mother was very protective of that information. She only instructed me to ensure you receive the card at the proper time. I'd suggest visiting First National Trust downtown to get the full details. Tyler looked at me. Want to go right now? Yeah, I said, pocketing the card. Yeah, I think I do. First National Trust occupied an elegant building in the historic downtown district. The kind of place with marble floors and brass fixtures that spoke of old money and older traditions. We walked in feeling distinctly out of place in our work clothes. Me in my construction site, khakis, and Tyler in his HVAC company polo. A receptionist greeted us with the kind of polite smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. How may I help you, gentlemen? Today I pulled out the bank card. I need to check the balance on this account. Her expression shifted when she saw the card. Something between surprise and concern. One moment. Please. She picked up her phone and spoke quietly into it. Too low for us to hear. Within 30 seconds, a man in an expensive suit came hurrying out from the back offices. He was maybe 50 with silver hair and the kind of posture that came from years of managing other people's money. Mr. Caldwell, he asked, his eyes fixed on me. That's me. I'm Charles Whitmore, Senior Account Manager. Would you and your companion please follow me to a private office? We need to verify your identity before proceeding. Tyler and I followed him through a maze of corridors to a corner office with a view of the city skyline. Mr. Whitmore gestured for us to sit, then closed the door carefully. Mr. Caldwell, I need to see 2 forms of identification. Please. I handed over my driver's license and an old employee badge from my construction company. He examined them carefully, then typed something into his computer. His face went pale. Sir, I need to make absolutely certain before we continue. You are Owen James Caldwell, son of Patricia Ann Caldwell, deceased 3 years ago. Yes. Mr. Whitmore's hands were shaking slightly as he turned his computer screen toward me. Mr. Caldwell, I need you to look at this very carefully. The screen showed an account summary. My name at the top, and beneath it, a balance that made my vision blur. Babai Sushitsi Mayuan. Ling ling ling. Ling ling ling. $847 million. Tyler leaned forward, saw the number, and made a sound like he'd been punched in the stomach. That's not real. That can't be real. Mr. Whitmore's voice was tight with barely controlled excitement. It's very real. Sir, this trust was established 36 years ago by James Thornon Caldwell III with an initial deposit of $20 million, per his instructions. It was invested conservatively, but consistently in blue-chip stocks, real estate holdings, and treasury bonds. The trust has grown substantially over the decades. I couldn't speak, couldn't process what I was seeing. Additionally, Mr. Whitmore continued, his professionalism cracking slightly. Your mother made regular contributions to the trust from a small inheritance she received from her own family. Approximately $10. 000 per year. She wanted to ensure it continued growing for her sons. Mom had money, Tyler asked, his voice barely a whisper. She worked 2 jobs her whole life. Your mother. Mr. Whitmore said gently, chose to live modestly so that you would learn the value of hard work, but she never forgot about this trust. She visited this bank once a year, every year, to check on its progress and ensure everything was properly managed for your future. I found my voice. So this money is really mine. Ours. Yours primarily as the designated trustee. Your brother Tyler has access as well as specified in your mother's letter. The funds can be accessed immediately. Though I would strongly recommend meeting with our wealth management team before making any significant withdrawals. Tyler was laughing, a slightly hysterical sound. Owen, do you realize what this means? You just signed divorce papers giving Victoria everything. And it turns out you're sitting on almost $1 billion. The irony hit me like a freight train. Victoria had kicked me out with nothing but my truck and my clothes, thinking she'd taken everything I had. Her father had probably celebrated getting rid of the deadweight son-in-law who'd never amount to anything. If only they knew. Mr. Whitmore was watching me carefully. Mr. Caldwell, I understand this is overwhelming. Take your time processing this information. But I should mention that once you begin using this card, certain notifications will be triggered automatically. Your account activity will be monitored for security purposes, and significant transactions will require additional verification. What counts as significant, I asked. Anything over $100. 0 inches. A single transaction. I stood up slowly, my legs feeling like they might give out. Mr. Whitmore, I need to think about this. Is there a way to verify this account is real without alerting anyone else? He nodded. Of course. The card in your possession is fully active. You can use it for normal transactions immediately. Small purchases to confirm it works if you'd like. Tyler and I left the bank in stunned silence. We walked to a coffee shop 2 blocks away and sat in a corner booth, both of us staring at nothing. What are you going to do? Tyler finally asked. I have no idea. I admitted. Part of me wants to walk back into Victoria's life and throw this in her face. Show her exactly what she walked away from. That's your anger talking, Tyler said, though he was grinning. But man, I'd pay money to see her expression. The other part of me wants to pretend I never found out. Just keep living my life like nothing changed. Tyler shook his head. Owen, Mom didn't protect this money for 36 years. So you could ignore it. She wanted you to use it. Build something meaningful. That's what she said. He was right. But what do you build when you suddenly have more money than you can spend in 10 lifetimes? The answer came to me 3 days later when I was driving past one of my construction sites. We were renovating an old warehouse into mixed-use residential and commercial space, the kind of project that could revitalize a struggling neighborhood. But we'd hit funding issues, and the developer was talking about scaling back the affordable housing units to cut costs. I pulled over and made a call to Mr. Whitmore. I want to buy the project, I said. The whole development. What do I need to do? 2 weeks later, I was the sole owner of a $20 million development project. I kept my identity as the investor hidden behind a shell corporation, and I kept working my regular job as project manager. Nobody knew the guy in the hard hat and dusty boots was actually the owner of the entire operation. I restructured the project to include more affordable units, better green spaces, a community center, things that would actually help the neighborhood instead of just maximizing profit. My construction crew thought the new investor was crazy for spending money on extras that didn't generate immediate return. But it felt right. It felt like building something meaningful. Tyler used his share of the trust to expand his HVAC business, buying new equipment and hiring more technicians. We agreed to keep the money secret from everyone except our wives. Well, Tyler's wife, Jessica. I didn't have a wife anymore. I thought I was handling it all well until I ran into Victoria at a charity gala 3 months after our divorce. I'd been invited because my shell corporation had made a significant donation to the Children's Hospital, and apparently that came with tickets to their annual fundraiser. She was wearing a dress that probably costs more than my old monthly salary, hanging on the arm of a man I didn't recognize. Tall, athletic, with the kind of fake tan that came from too much time at expensive resorts. Victoria saw me and her eyes widened in shock. I was wearing a tuxedo I'd bought for the occasion, and I probably looked different than the broke ex-husband. She remembered. "Owen," she said, her voice uncertain. "What are you doing here, same as everyone else?" I replied calmly, "Supporting a good cause." Her date extended his hand. "Preston Hargrove. And you are Owen Caldwell." Victoria's ex-husband. Preston's grip was crushing, probably trying to establish dominance. I didn't react. "Owen works in construction," Victoria said quickly, like she needed to explain my presence. "I'm surprised you could afford tickets to this event." "I manage," I said simply. The truth was, my single ticket had cost $50. Ling ling ling. I'd barely noticed the charge on my account statement. "Well, it was nice seeing you," Victoria said, already turning away. "Preston and I need to mingle." I watched them walk away, Victoria's hand possessive on Preston's arm. She thought she'd traded up, left the struggling construction worker for someone in her own social class. Let her think that. Let her father think he'd successfully removed the embarrassment from his daughter's life. 6 months after the divorce, my development project was featured in the local business journal as an example of responsible urban renewal. The article praised the anonymous investor who'd prioritized community benefit over maximum profit. My crew took pride in the work, and I'd negotiated bonuses for everyone when we came in under budget and ahead of schedule. I was having coffee with Tyler one Saturday morning when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Caldwell." A woman's voice said, "This is Jennifer Ashford, Richard Ashford's personal assistant. Mr. Ashford would like to meet with you at your earliest convenience." Richard Ashford, Victoria's father, the man who'd made it clear I wasn't good enough for his daughter since the day we met. Regarding what I asked, he didn't provide details, but he said it was urgent. Would tomorrow at 2 p.m. work his office downtown Curiosity won out. "I'll be there." Tyler raised an eyebrow as I hung up. "Victoria's dad wants to see you, apparently. Think he knows about the money? No way. We've been too careful." But doubt crept in. Had I slipped up somewhere, used the card in a way that could be traced back to me? Richard Ashford's office was exactly what I expected. Top floor of the newest high-rise. Panoramic views of the city. Furniture that cost more than most people's cars. His assistant led me into his private office, where Richard sat behind a desk the size of my Murphy bed. "Owen," he said, not standing or offering to shake hands. "Thank you for coming." "Mr. Ashford." I sat in the chair across from him without being invited. He studied me for a long moment. "I'll get straight to the point. Victoria wants to reconcile." Of all the things I'd expected him to say, that wasn't on the list. "Excuse me, my daughter has realized she made a mistake divorcing you. She's ended her relationship with Preston Hargrove and would like to explore the possibility of getting back together." I almost laughed. "And you're here to facilitate that?" "I'm here because Victoria asked me to reach out. She was afraid you wouldn't take her call." She was right. Richard leaned back in his chair. "Owen, I'll be honest with you. When Victoria first brought you home, I didn't think you were right for her. You didn't come from money, didn't have connections, seemed content with mediocrity. Thanks for the honesty," I said dryly. "But," he continued, "I've been asking around about you lately. Turns out you've made quite a name for yourself in the construction industry. That development project everyone's talking about. Word is, you're the anonymous investor behind it." So, he had figured it out. Or at least part of it. "That's quite a rumor," I said neutrally. "More than a rumor. I have friends in banking. Owen. Friends who notice when large amounts of money start moving through unusual channels. They mentioned an account at First National Trust. Old family money. Recently activated." My heart rate picked up. But I kept my expression calm. Richard smiled. But it wasn't friendly. "Your mother did an excellent job hiding your father's identity. I had to dig deep to find out that James Thornon Caldwell III was married to Patricia Ann Caldwell before he died. Deeper still, to discover he'd walked away from his family's fortune to marry a woman they didn't approve of. Is there a point to this? I asked. The point is that Victoria divorced you thinking you were nobody. Now I'm telling her she divorced a man sitting on the Caldwell manufacturing fortune. He leaned forward. That trust must be worth what, $400 million by now. I didn't correct him. Let him underestimate by half. Victoria made her choice. I said she walked away because I wasn't rich enough for her. Now she wants back in because she found out I am. That's not love. Mr. Ashford, that's a business transaction. Everything's a business transaction. Owen, you should understand that by now. Maybe that's your problem, I said, standing up. Not everything should be. Think about it. Richard called after me. Victoria could be an asset to you. Her connections, her social standing. They could help you build something bigger than one development project. I paused at the door. I don't need her connections. And I sure as hell don't need her back in my life. Walking out of Richard Ashford's office felt like closing a chapter. Victoria had made her choice based on what she thought I was worth financially. She'd looked at me and seen only a limitation, a ceiling on what her life could be. She never saw the person I actually was, the man who worked hard, kept his promises, would have built a life with her regardless of money. And now that she knew I had money, she wanted another chance. No. I drove to my mother's grave that afternoon. The headstone was simple. Just her name and dates. The way she'd wanted it. I sat on the grass beside it and told her everything about the divorce. About the trust. About Victoria wanting to come back. You knew exactly what you were doing, didn't you? Mom, I said to the quiet air. Making us wait 3 years. Making sure we learned to stand on our own first. If she'd given us the money right away, I probably would have spent it trying to impress Victoria, trying to prove I was worthy of her family's approval. I would have become exactly what Richard Ashford expected. Just another rich guy who thought money solved everything. Instead, I'd learned who I was without money and discovered that person was someone I actually liked. My phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. Dad said he talked to you. Can we meet? Please, I typed back. No. Move on. I have. She tried calling 3 times. I didn't answer. A week later, Tyler and I sat in Mr. Whitmore's office at First National Trust, reviewing investment strategies and discussing charitable foundations. We'd decided to establish the Patricia Caldwell Foundation, focused on helping single mothers get job training and education. It felt right, honoring the woman who'd raised us while protecting a secret that would have changed everything. Your mother would be proud. Mr. Whitmore said, reviewing our foundation documents. This is exactly the kind of meaningful work she hoped you'd do. As we left the bank, Tyler turned to me. You doing okay with all this? The Victoria situation. The money? Everything. Yeah, I said, and realized I meant it. I really am. For the first time in years, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Not missing the big house. The life you had with Victoria. I thought about my small studio apartment with its creaky Murphy bed and broken coffee maker. Thought about my construction crew and the pride we took in building something that helped people instead of just making profit. That life was never really mine. I said, it was always hers. I was just living in it. And now I'm building my own life on my own terms. 6 months later, the development project was completed. We held a community celebration, and I watched families move into their new, affordable housing units. Watched kids run through the green spaces we'd built. Watched the community center fill with people. Victoria drove past during the celebration. I saw her slow down, watching from her car. Our eyes met for just a moment, and I saw recognition in her face. Not of me, but of what this project represented. The kind of life I was building without her. She drove away without stopping. The bank card my mother left me didn't just give me money. It gave me freedom. Freedom to build something meaningful. Freedom to choose what mattered. Freedom to become the man my father was when he walked away from his family's fortune to build a life on his own terms. Mom knew exactly what she was doing. She always did. If this story resonated with you, please like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear about standing on your own 2 feet and discovering what really matters. Drop a comment below about a time when you discovered something unexpected about yourself or your family. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories about ordinary people discovering extraordinary truths hidden in the most unexpected places. Because sometimes losing everything is the only way to find out what you're really worth.